Hello and welcome to this
Are you
week's Just
listening?
Be Mentally Free from Anxiety Talk
Damn.
Show. I am thrilled that you are joining me.
Uh,
I'm Paul Cartone, a licensed psychotherapist,
yeah.
life coach, and sports performance coach, specializing in anxiety. I've suffered from anxiety and panic attacks and have been helping people with anxiety for 17 years. I am proof that you can overcome this condition and eliminate panic attacks. I say this is a condition because I believe it's something that is developed over time and has a root cause. If you are suffering from anxiety, you don't have a disease and you are not mentally ill. You are not going crazy, and in a shorter time it took to develop this, you can manage it and, yes, even overcome this. I've seen this more often than not, and I am proof of that because I understand what you're going through and how difficult it is to live with. So I don't want to minimize the fact that anxiety can be very debilitating and limit your life experiences, but I want to give you hope that you can be free from anxiety. In my 17 years of counseling and coaching, I have come up with a paradigm that works. It all comes down to this: wanting to change and overcome. I'm going to talk about that shortly. That's this week's topic. You can visit my website at www.justbementallyfree.com for more information about me and my services. And you can even schedule a free consult, and I will gladly speak with you and answer any questions you may have. You can also email me with questions you would like answered on this show at paulcartone@live.com. That's paulcartone@live.com. So today's question I will be answering is from Gary about medication. Gary wrote, I was told that I need to be on medication to control my anxiety, but it's not helping me. I hate the side effects and feel like a, quote, zombie. Do I need to be on medication, and which one? Gary, I will answer that question, but at the end of the show. Now I'm going to talk about a topic that may strike a chord with you, but I'm doing this to create awareness. I want you to identify what type of anxiety sufferer you are. I'm not sure if you've ever looked at this or thought there were categories of anxiety sufferers, but I believe this is important to point out. So here's what I'm talking about. There are those that want to change and gain control and be anxiety free. And there are those that are comfortable with having anxiety and may really not want to change. You may be saying, what? There are people out there that are comfortable with anxiety? I wouldn't exactly say they are comfortable with anxiety. I would say they've learned to live with it and have the belief that this is some kind of disease they are living with and will never overcome it. There are also those that do not want to overcome their anxiety because they not only have learned to live with it, but are getting something out of having anxiety. These are called secondary gains. Those that have the belief that this is some kind of disease are pretty much going through the motions, are in therapy week after week, discussing the previous week and talking about what they are doing to help themselves or not helping themselves. They're trying new coping skills after coping skill after coping skill. They may find a coping skill that helps them, but they are not really getting any better. It's a pattern they have learned to live with. I wouldn't say they don't want to resolve and manage this. I would say they are stuck in a major negative belief system that this anxiety is a disease and they have to be on medication, and because they have generations of family members who have had anxiety, they believe they will never overcome this condition. They also have people in their life, including their therapist or life coach or psychiatrist, telling them that it's something they have to live with the rest of their life. So they try and find a coping skill that works and continue to be on medication and going to therapy. If this is you, I am telling you, do not listen to them. Find a new therapist or life coach and or psychiatrist as well. You can get control back and even overcome this. You don't have to be a slave to anxiety. That's right, a slave to anxiety. It's like being in financial debt. Being in debt means you are slave to the lender. You don't have to be slave to the lender. With a conscious effort and change, you can get out of debt and live a life of financial freedom. It may take some time to get out of debt, but with a plan and goals, it's absolutely possible to be debt free. You deserve freedom from anxiety. You were not born to live a life being slave to anxiety. You were born to live a life of peace and love, self-love. So, what does being free from anxiety mean to you? That may be a scary thought, being free from anxiety. And, that leads me to the person who I described earlier. Those that really don't want to resolve their anxiety because they are getting something out of having anxiety or secondary gains. They have lived with anxiety for so long and have gotten used to living with it. The thought of not having anxiety can be downright frightening. They may think they have to be a different person, or there may be a new set of standards they have to live up to, or they may have to get uncomfortable and be in situations where they previously had anxiety and panic attacks. And they use anxiety as an excuse to not do certain things and maybe getting other benefits, such as getting sympathy from others, or maybe even not having to get a job and go to work. Most of these people make excuses and more excuses and really don't want to get better. No one can help this category of people suffering from anxiety until they really want help for themselves. They really have to help themselves or want that help. So, I look at this as it's almost like an addiction. They have to recognize what is happening and want it for themselves. They think the secondary gains are better than the alternative, being free from anxiety. And that's really, really sad. That's really sad to me because they're missing out on so much. So the last category of anxiety sufferers I want to talk about are those that are suffering with anxiety who want to change and really, really hate having anxiety. They are the ones who are willing to do anything to resolve and overcome, with a belief that they can overcome this. Plain and simple. For them, it's a matter of being directed the right way by a professional and empowered that they can get back control and manage anxiety and, yes, overcome anxiety. If this is you, you have to know that you can definitely get control back and even overcome this condition. You can overcome this as fast as you want to. And most of these people in this category, I've helped overcome this condition in 3 to 6 visits. It's quite remarkable because they don't have that ingrained belief system. They can't overcome it. They're not battling that. They don't have generations of family members that have suffered from anxiety. And, it's something that the root cause is very identifiable. And once we identify it and resolve it, it's all downhill from there. So it takes a little bit of work. But even if you're the category who has this ingrained belief that you can't overcome it and it's a disease, but you want to, it's the same principle. We have to go back a little bit, do a little bit of work, and free you from some things and resolve, and that sets the stage for living in the present and incorporating all the things that you found helpful with coping skills and other techniques. But none of that stuff's going to do any good until you can figure out and change that belief system, figure out the root causes. But anyway, I'm not going to go into that. Again, I've developed a paradigm that will definitely get you to that point where you can be in the moment, be in the present, and move forward instead of having that conflict from the past. So anyway, for me, when I finally figured out I had anxiety when I was 17, I was confused, as most people are. I didn't know if this was a disease, a condition that could be overcome, or if I needed medication or not. Looking back, though, I did know that I hated having anxiety and panic attacks, And I did not want to live like this the rest of my life. I almost got sucked in, though, to secondary gains because it can be sort of comfortable getting out of things I didn't want to do, and like going to places where I thought I was going to have panic attacks. A side note there, I did have major avoidance behavior and found the most security around my family and in my home. But that false sense of security did me no good. And it limited my potential and kept me from really knowing who I was. Does this sound familiar to you? I mean, do you know who you are? So I used anxiety as a crutch and excuse for sympathy and attention. But when I really thought about it, and it was pointed out to me, the alternative, being free from this condition and not letting it control me anymore, was far more rewarding than any secondary gain. And I just can't stress that enough. It was just far more rewarding than having anxiety. So, that's something we really have to think about. The rewards are incredible. Just living a life free from anxiety and getting that much closer to knowing who you are and living out of peace instead of fear. So anyway, today, as a psychotherapist, life and sports performance coach, I can identify those that are stuck in a deep negative belief that they have a disease, or those that are comfortable and getting secondary gains and don't want to change. And those are the ones that are lifers in therapy, unfortunately. And I can identify those that just flat out want to be free from anxiety, who may be, new to having anxiety or have had it for years like me, but just haven't found the right therapist or life coach that specializes in anxiety. And, once they do find that person who can help them, they have to have a solid plan to get them to resolution and free from anxiety and panic attacks. That's so important. A very goal-oriented person who's all about resolving and working toward that goal of being anxiety free. Anyway, if you're an anxiety sufferer, which one of these are you? If you want to change, start making yourself a priority today. You don't have to be a pleaser and shove your needs aside anymore. You matter. Do you know what that means? Really think about that. Being a pleaser is definitely a major characteristic of an anxiety sufferer. That's another topic I will discuss on another show, because it's important to identify that and really understand what it means to be a pleaser, and how that's sort of diminishing your needs, your feelings, who you are, telling yourself indirectly you're not important. So that's definitely something we'll talk about on another show, maybe the next time we meet here. But side note, if you really want to get control back and overcome this condition, I'm hosting an anxiety webinar tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's all about what you can do now to start helping yourself, and what you can do to overcome anxiety and live a life of freedom. It will also be recorded, so if you cannot see it live, you will be able to watch it anytime, and it will be on my YouTube channel, which is Just Be Mentally Free. So it would be awesome if you could, go there and actually subscribe, and you'll get all the latest updates on my radio show, talk show here, and other videos that I do weekly. And you can also register for the webinar on my site if you are listening to this show today, which is April 16th, at www.justbementallyfree.com. Again, if you're listening to this show and it's past April 16th, just go to my website or YouTube channel to watch the recorded version. Or I invite you to go to my website and click on Anxiety Workshops. My Just Be Mentally Free Anxiety Workshop is a very affordable 4-week workshop that will change your life. I guarantee results. And, I'm not saying that lightly at all. I'm intellectually and emotionally convinced, this will change your life. It's all about resolution and helping my clients get closer to living in peace. So I'm passionate about that, guaranteeing you results. So now I'm going to end today with answering that question from Gary that emailed me asking, I was told that I need to be on medication to control my anxiety, but it's not helping me. I hate the side effects and feel like, quote, a zombie. Do I need to be on medication, and which one? So anyway, thanks for writing in, Gary. And first I want to tell you I am not a doctor and cannot give you any medical advice, but I want you to know that you do not need to be on medication, and it will not cure your anxiety. It's definitely a band-aid. Medication may be necessary only if whatever it is that you are dealing with is so debilitating that you cannot function, and whatever it is interfering with every aspect of your life. Medication can bring some stability, but it's, again, only a band-aid and not a cure. Once someone comes off a medication without resolution of the cause to whatever they are dealing with, they will be right back where they started and right back on the medication or a different medication. It can be a vicious cycle, and I see this all the time. A cycle, I believe, that is driven by big business. Medication is trial and error. If you're currently on medication, you definitely must speak with your doctor about weaning you from it, but don't just stop taking your medication cold turkey. Always seek medical advice first. And, I've helped hundreds of people come off their medication with the help of their doctor. Personally, I overcame this condition without medication. So thanks for that question, Gary. I hope I answered it. And if you need further explanation, feel free to drop me another email. So thanks for listening today. I will be doing this every week. You can also follow me on Twitter. And my Twitter name is @BeMentallyFree, BeMentallyFree. Or sign up for my blog on my website at www.justbementallyfree.com. And if you're interested in learning more about my services, schedule a session or free consult, you can also do that at my website as well. And remember, it's my goal to help everyone live a life of peace that they deserve and just be mentally free.